first work session. It is, about 2.5 minutes after 6. I will now call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes or amendments to the agenda? If not, we'll accept as presented. The next item of business is the 25-26 Malheur ESD service plan. And we have Mark Redmond here.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, Pat. I can take as long or as little time as you want on this. I'm going to do a kind of a quick overview, and feel free to stop me with questions, concerns, anything you guys have for me. So I'll start out. This is a 25-26 local service plan. I think hopefully I'll have a copy of it in front of you. And just to kind of before we get into this. Just keep in mind that this is a best guess, especially in a long session, going into a long session. We just found out what the governor's recommended budget was like the first week of December. And then, and my board actually had to have this adopted for them before then. And then we still haven't got a legislature agenda. And the legislature is going to tear it up and spit it out and do all the stuff they do, hopefully by the end of May, June. And so, and I've got to adopt this now before the state's even adopted their budget. So it is a best guess, but we usually come pretty close. So you're going to see some numbers that you hopefully correct. So jumping to the first couple pages there real quick is just table of contents with some of the ESD staff that's thrown over. On page 4, I just want to a note of gratitude to Susie Ramos for being on our budget board for the ESD. You're on there on page 4 for NISA representing it, and it is hard sometimes to get budget board members. It's not the most exciting meeting in the world if you've sat through those. And
What?
Not how we run it. I mean, ours is different.
Crystal jumps around and
Wait a
probably has all
minute.
kinds of flashy stuff. And so Susie, just thanks for helping out with that. Appreciate that. If we go to page 6, that's really where the nuts and bolts of it is. And this follows kind of a similar format, I guess, that we've had in the last ESD. The first thing to note is up top there, underneath some of the stuff you see, based on $11.3 billion state school fund at 49.51%. Those of you that are up on the OSBA stuff, you maybe heard 11.4 recently, or 11.36. So that's our best guess right now. I'm sure Ryan's kind of prepped you on some added special ed weightings and some stuff like that, to where that state school fund, could go up a little bit from 11.3 to 11.4. That is a possibility, and it's just a matter of where the legislature takes it. If you jump down into the sections that are different colors there, the first section is our largest section. It's really on students with special needs. And it's broken down into counselors, diagnosticians, all kinds of stuff there. And really, there's no changes there. I think when it comes to NISA, you guys have 3 speech language pathology assistants that come through us. The speech is the biggest part of that NISA utilizes. Autism is another one. Angie McKinsey's running around for about half of her time. And then a little bit of counseling, a little bit of YTP, and some occupational therapy, and even a diagnostician that can be colored. So you kind of have a bit of pieces of a bunch of stuff in there, but the speech language program is by far, for all of our schools, the largest that's in here. And they're needle in a haystack finding an SLP. And so we do have 3 of them that are SLPAs, assistants at the ESD, and we are going through and helping them pay their tuition, and in turn they commit to 5 years of service in the county. And so we are excited about that, because finding SLPs it's just really hard. And so we've got a good supply of them coming up, so that when some of ours retire, we can backfill with ones we have now. second section in here is the services and support section. So in there, you're going to see STEM Hub and curriculum. So Angie Ariola and Nikki Shira is a big part of that. An Works program. Brian Bond does the internship program is in there. Edgenuity and Odyssey-ware are online programs for credit recovery and that kind of stuff. And I'm not sure if your online school, you don't use those on your online school, or do you?
We use it for alt school.
Alt school, okay. Learn 360 is an online kind of video hands-on type thing for the county. Myon's similar. Career technical education is in here. You guys have a very robust CNA program now. Andre DeWitt here is really taking that to the next level. If you had a chance to attend some of the HOSA competitions that she's ran, came here for Christmas. She has that going on. There's 150 kids here from schools in Idaho, schools in Oregon. I mean, like a wrestling tournament, except they're all dressed in nurse fatigues. So it's kind of, there's a neat ambulance out front. A lot of medical folks participating in that. And really the big change is that last line item is adding another NISA preschool. I know we talked about this last year, and what Crystal I think has prepped you guys with is, you know, obviously you guys have a bunch of new kids in your online program. However, the state hasn't paid you for them yet, and so you're having to front the bill to pay for all of that, those services on online. And it looks like March, April is when that's finally gonna hit home, I guess. You guys. So what that means is, along with you guys, Mr. School District getting additional funding for that, that also helps the funding for the ESD. And I keep it's probably an over the top, there's an over the top spreadsheet. Every year where I try to, it is a consortium model and funding needs to go back to students in the county, but I have all the districts listed up here and all the different services. And it's not perfect, but it's close. And every year it changes a little bit, but I try to really keep tabs on and say, okay, this has got this many kids and the ESD is generating this much money from this school district. I need to be sending this back to NISA. And again, it's not dollar for dollar perfect, but it's pretty close and it fluctuates a little bit. Well, with that influx of kids that you guys are getting, I need to send more money back to NISA. And so I talked to Ryan, and you know, this is one of his priorities. He wanted to increase preschools last year. It would have cost you general fund, which I understand there's some concern there with your general fund. And this one now is, this is that funding that those online kids are generating for the ESD. I can kick it back your direction. And so we've already moved the one preschool that we had at the OCDC Center down here across the tracks. It's down the hall here now. There's a room next to it that's vacant, and kind of the plan is if all those things hit, which I don't see why they're not going to, we would put a second preschool in place there. And that would be 3 full-day preschools that the ESD would be running in NISA. And they would be those pyramid model enhanced classrooms that we've kind of talked about in the past. That's really the big change in this local service plan. My board's seen this, all the other school district superintendents, we went through, kind of kicked it around already, and everybody's agreed that this is where it needs to go. If you were comparing it to last year in that blue section, the third section, the other big change you would see is that EICS child find evaluations, 172,000. It's higher than last year, and last year was in the 90s or maybe 100. When I started, it was 0. And that was child find evaluations by statute are supposed to be done by the school district or school district funds, or in this case ESD funds, in lieu of school district funds, and they're actually being taken out of our early intervention, early child and special education grant. And so I finally got that up to where it should be. It usually runs about $1,200 per kid, and we have about 150 kids in the county. And so I'm where I need to be when it comes to that child height evaluation. So that would be another change. You would see that line item is there. It's just higher this year, and it's now kind of where we need to be. So that kind of sums up the three main local service plan components. On the back side of that, once the Student Success Act was passed, obviously school districts got high school success money and Everyday Matters money and Student Success Act money and Crystal's Grant Fund that you see in the budget for all those separately. ESD's got money as well, and in kind of a similar model, we have to give that back in lieu of service to our districts. And so, one thing that I have to have at this moment in time from ODE is I do have to have a Student Success Act liaison. Her name is Kelsey Skinner, and she comes out of Jordan Valley, and she helps Brian, she helps Crystal, budgeting side of doing high school success and Student Success Act. So you'll see the liaison in there. You'll also see in her works coordinator. That's Brian Vaughn in the internship programs. I don't know if I can give you copies, but I can give Ryan copies to show you his pamphlet every year. He rolls out with about 25 kids that went through summer internship programs for all of our local businesses. They're all paid internships, and it's top shelf. It's a really good program. Some of you may be even active as mentors. That's a component of that. We also have the Director of Curriculum Instruction is some help with schools that are in school improvement. You guys are a part of that in our county, a couple of the other school districts are. And then you also have Jen Suzuki is buried in there as the student wellness coordinator, and a component of her salary is coordinating countywide mental and behavioral health, threat assessments, suicide prevention, and that kind of thing. She works a lot with Bobby in your guys' district and a lot of the other counselors in terms of that. So I summarized what you would see on page 8 and 9 and 10 and 11 and 12. That breaks down all those parts on that chart in a lot more detail. On page 13 and 14, these are parts that the ESD does that aren't part of the local service plan. They're not necessarily voted on by the district boards. However, I think we are required by House Bill 3184 to make you aware of them, and I think it's a good place to see that even I have to send those pots of money in the local service plan back to districts. But on top of that, there's a lot of other things that we are working on. The first one up there, EIECSC, is about $1.7 million across the county. And then you get into IDA, you get into some diagnostician stuff, technology support. You guys run your own, but from the smaller districts, we do that, and we contract out that service to them. And then you get into some of the school improvement stuff. Preschool Promise is a big one. You guys actually rerun Preschool Promise slots inside of those preschools. And so that's a big component of it. We have an early learning hub, which works with early learning as well. There's a lot of other smaller grants. You get down into coordinated enrollment, child care resources for families and child care providers. You get down to the STEM hub. It's about $1 million. Nikki's program is now. She has 4 FTE in there. And hopefully you've seen her in action. Those of you that work with her have and know what you can get there. Carl Perkins is your CTE. Brett had a chance to see a lot of that at the high school. And Treasure Valley Tech is listed there as well. The other ones that are newer the last few years, the REN, Regional Educator Network, between their two funds, it's about $1.4 million. That provides a lot of support and training for mentoring for our teachers and other services like that. They also have a Grow Your Own program, which I know there's some IAs that are participating in that and getting their education paid for, and then school safety and prevention and other things in there. So in summary, that's my best guess, and it is a guess. I think there will probably be additional programs come out of the legislative session, and we are kind of hearing that there may be programs, a couple of them that might be less than the others here. CTE being one of them. Our CTE, they're cutting $85,000 from our rural remote CTE correction
some preschool slots to miss another classroom specifically. Will all those be run like preschool promise where everyone has to income qualify, or can some of those be private pay or just open
It's mixed blend.
mixed
Yeah,
pay?
'cause we would,
That's what I think.
there's one of the things in here that's listed is called coordinated enrollment, and we run coordinated enrollment, and it came out about 4 years ago, and what it brought to light was kind of what you're hitting on, is the way it works is you have parents that need childcare that come to coordinated enrollment, we fill out paperwork, and then here are all the possible providers on the other side of the hourglass. Well, based on the criteria that you fill out, you can go to this, you can go to this, you can go to this. And so the way it works is, you know, if you're from 0 to 144% poverty and you're migrant, when you go to OCDC, then all the kids go there. And then if you're 0 to 144% poverty and you're not migrant, then you go to Head Start. If you're 0 to 200% poverty, then you qualify for the preschool promise. And if you're above that in the income category, then you go to a private one, or a church run one, or whatever. So right out of the gate, these little 3 and 4-year-olds get channeled into groups, which is not how a classroom should look. I mean, imagine if you're down here at your elementary school, and you have 4 second grade classrooms, and all these kids go into this teacher, and these go to this teacher, and that ain't gonna fly anywhere. And so it took a while to break that mold.
It's like segregation.
Yeah.
Or economic
Yeah,
level.
and it took a while to break that mold, and we kind of had to do this and that, and we've got it figured out now. But so what it will be is rough, you know, give or take, there's 18 slots. So it'd be about 6 preschool promise, 6 private pay. And when we're talking private pay, it's not $800 a month. It's like $300 a month or $200 or whatever. It's reasonable. And then you have some, you know, obviously you have some special needs kids in there, and you'll have some migrant kids in there, so that preschool classroom looks like a classroom should look like. It has a little bit of everybody in there. And so those are the only ones we don't have. We don't channel them like I described. But it did start out that way.
Yeah.
How's that competitive wise with other private pay preschools?
Quite a bit lower.
Is that-
But the downside, because there is a downside, is it's an 8 to 4, which a lot of parents really need that 7:30 to 5, and then it's off Fridays too. And so yeah, it is cheaper. I mean, I'll be honest, there's 3 slots that are open in Ontario right now for $300 a piece, which like we were out there talking to people that can't just get filled. And so we're trying to juggle a little bit. It's like, okay, well, move some slots here, put some more slots in this, that's where the need is. And so we play that game and juggle it as best we can and just get everything filled up. And so, but yeah, it's $300 a month for childcare for the 3 or 4-year-olds is pretty good.
So that's like 54 kids in the 3 classes, so how many kids are not able to go, like, in a ballpark again?
Well, and we should become pretty close to 100% with private pay, but also we have OCDC. We have Head Start, our Gables and Grace will still run a classroom as well, so we should be pretty dang close to offering 100% for that. So, and we have the lead classroom over there. I mean, there's now a lot of options over there. So.
And the one classroom, the lead classroom we reference is actually 2 half days. So there's a morning group, and those kids go home, and there's an afternoon group, and those kids go home. And that works for some parents. You know, they just want that 2.5, 3 hours. So there's a good mix. I think once this one goes in, I think it might be pretty close to saturated in terms of 3 and 4-year-olds. Now, 0 to 3, that's a completely different ballgame. Finding 0 to 3 childcare right now is tough.
Is this quite a bit cheaper than it was last year, or when we last looked at this?
No, it was $220 last year.
Was it?
And,
Okay.
Yeah, and I think, well, the difference is last year we were looking at augmenting general funds to do that, and now with the local service plan, there's no general funds coming out of it, and so it'll all go through the ESC. So it's a zero cost just out of the district, basically, and we get to offer that to more kids at a said, a high quality one, $300 a month, and that's the worst case scenario, right, Mark?
Yeah, if
And
they're
so-
at income qualifying, it's not gonna be anything.
Yeah.
But it does provide that mixed group, which I think is really important.
And it'll be based on somewhat of a point system still?
Yeah, the same thing, when you go through coordinated enrollment, it's kind of, it's out of everybody's hands. There's some neutral parties that use that, and that way we're not, I
That's
mean,
cool.
we don't wanna, you don't want any chance of favorites getting played and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, same point system.
Awesome.
Points like for being handicapped or income, that kind of stuff, or?
You know, where you're living, and like if you've got other students that are already maybe in the program, like, you know, so that siblings, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Do we have other questions for Mark?
Real quick, I just don't understand what this means. So there's Ontario and Harper
The flow
flow
through.
through
Yeah.
LSP.
Yeah.
What is that?
So, I'll start, they're a little different, but Ontario, when I first started at the DSD, so I want to say about 10 or 11 years ago, Ontario, I think, was really disgruntled with the services, specialized services, and they worked out a deal with the DSD where they decided, hey, you know what, instead of us using your people, we'll just have you. And so they did that, and still to this day, they do that, and it's, you know, it's fine. I mean, there's pros and cons to both sides. There's some, you have control over people, but, you know, if you talk to Gina, how it is to go hire and try to find special ed staff and SLPs, it's not the easiest thing in the world. And so that's what, kind of that Ontario line there, that's just one that just kept going, and it works. It works for the county. The Harper one is newer, and what, if you kind of go back in history, the ESDs 15 years ago, the smaller school districts, the Adrians and the York Valleys and Harpers, and the ones that kind of ESD, that's why ESDs exist, that helps provide some equity for the smaller districts. They didn't need a full-time special ed or full-time counselor, nor did they have the money to afford it. So usually the ESD will send a counselor twice a day here, or twice a week here, twice a week there, all that kind of stuff. Well, now it's getting to the point where when it comes to special ed teachers and or counselors, there's enough money even in those small districts that they can start to hire their own if they want to. And there's a need in a lot of them now that they need a full-time person. And so what I've kind of talked to the superintendents about this is, as we get some of my staff that retire in those positions, counselors or special needs kids, special education teachers, I've just been giving them the option, hey, do you want us to hire a person back, or do you want me to just send you? And that's where Ron, you know, and it's 50-50 right now. I've got Harper that wanted the money, Huntington just wanted to hire their own guy, which they did, because they did ESD services on that thing. I gave the option to Adrian, they had us hire it, Annex hire it. It's just a lot around the experience of that small school administrator and how comfortable they feel running special ed. Yeah.
Any other questions? Anything else you want to tell us?
No, I don't want to steal Ryan's thunder, but we have an email about OSBA training,
Third.
February 3rd, and I think it sounds like that they're gonna come out in person. We'll do a dinner just like we always do. We start about 5:30, and it'll go till about 8. So I think it's
It'll
just,
be in Vail.
yeah, be available at ESD.
I remember this is a replacement of that regional roundtables, and so we wanted to reschedule, so we got the training done, we kind of two birds, one stone.
At the same time.
But it's also our time to connect with those other boards and maybe start getting some different relationships going as well, so, 2 hours, right?
Yeah, 2 hours to say the training, and there's gonna be an online option, you know, I think maybe like the Georgia Valley Board, they'll probably all get in the same office down there and just kind of zoom in, because it's a requirement for the board members now. But we wanted to still have it in person, sometimes being able to ask them direct questions and have it be live and in person is better.
What day did you say?
February 3rd.
At what time?
5:30, I think.
Is that something that will be recorded? I won't be around.
That's a good question.
If we have to do the training, how else do we do it if we
I
can't
can
be there?
record it, but OSBA does offer a But that rule is it's in place, like inside of your 4-year term. Every board member is gonna have to do one of those trainings. And so, and I don't think I don't know how they're gonna hold people accountable to that, I really don't, but that's what it says in the books right now.
It's also really a good time to be able to interact with other board members.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happens to be the first Monday of the month, so that would take the place of
Of
our
our study
study
session, yep.
session.
That was the only other thing I think we
Take
got
it
back.
down.
Yeah, no, I can
That's
drive
out
that.
there.
I will be taking it.
Except that's not.
Huh?
No, I'll be gone on the 11th. Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Mark.
you.
All right.
Thank you
thanks,
very much,
guys.
Mark.
We'll be voting on that next Monday. It will be on the agenda to get done. So you'll have word from us next Monday.
Thanks for all your hard work.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Oh. So the next on the agenda is the Giggles and Grace contract, and so I put copies of 2 contracts for you. We're not ready tonight to discuss this. There's a couple, Sean and I are kind of going back and forth on some things. We do want to lock it in for 3 years. We told them 1 year kind of probation, that trial period is going really well. But since we are moving that ESD classroom in there, then we're going to take, because they have 2 classrooms in there now, we're going to take it to one, for sure, that baby room down there, and,
Down there.
yeah, down there. And then possibly looking maybe in the future adding a second one back in, but we can't guarantee that. So we're changing the contract to be 3 years. 1 classroom, moved it from $1,000 a month to $500 a month. And so there's some other things in there that they were looking at. And so we have a meeting on Wednesday to kind of negotiate, I guess, if you will. But so we're not ready for that now, but I wanted to present you guys with what we're proposing to them and what they're proposing to us. There's not big changes, and so those are things you'll see. So, yeah.
May I ask some questions about that? How are they, have they been keeping their slots filled?
As far as I know, yeah.
Has it impacted any NISA families? Have you heard any success, I guess? I haven't.
So they're all NISA families, and that was kind of that, and they filled that hole that because when we got rid of our early learning program, it was able to fill that need for us, and they took all of our OCDC slots, or the Head Start slots. They took our slots.
The 0 to 3, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
actually there's a 0 to 3, 0 to 2 down there, and then up there is our 3, 4 up here. And so, yeah, it was able to actually, all NISA families were able to fill that. So, and it's been extremely mutually beneficial for us with staff, and I mean, it has worked out really, really well, and that's why we'd like to extend it to 3 years. It's just now it's the room issue. So.
But $500 is very reasonable, because we have, I mean, do we pay for the custodian, or do they?
So that's part of their $500 to pay for custodian and food service, and we know that food service helps us because we get reimbursed with those meals, and so
But
it actually,
electricity,
yep, and so it works out really, really well for us. It's a neutral cost for everybody.
We aren't losing money.
Nope.
Is that the right interest rate for late payments? 500 of 1%?
Yeah, I think they just put that in there. They actually, last year, they paid it like a whole year in
They paid
advance.
us all up front, so
Yeah,
I'm not
Just
worried about
that
it.
percentage is kind of pointless.
I think so
It-
as well, so that's,
1/20th of a penny.
yeah.
It's because
$20
I
per
didn't
month.
want to calculate anything.
Yeah.
They pay up front. I'm not
All
worried about it.
right.
Yeah.
You can just put something down, right?
I put
You
something.
don't have to for that, no.
Oh.
I mean, if the penalty is nothing, you may as well put nothing, right?
Yeah, that's kind of my thought, but anyway, so, but those are the 2 contracts for you guys to review if you guys have any feedback going into it, but I would imagine that we'll have something by Wednesday, say this is kind of what we'd agreed on for you guys to look at, but pretty standard for our last contract, just changes the member amount and the years. So,
And you said it's going from 2 classrooms down to 1 classroom?
yes, yeah, because the ESD will pick up the second classroom up here, so.
said you're meeting on Wednesday,
Yes.
this coming Wednesday. In that case, then we'll move on to item 3 under business, meeting dates for superintendent evaluation. So,
Throw them out there, I'm available, so.
it's nice to know you're available, right?
Well, and we talked last time that we wanted kind of 2 dates, right?
Yes.
Is one to, everybody to kind of review that, and then again to meet and say, hey, this is where you're at currently, correct? Is that what you're looking at?
That's what we were looking at. I will ask, did everyone look at the form that we put out? And were there any comments on that? I mean, basically to evaluate the superintendent on the goals that were set instead of going through the OSBA suggested evaluation of, 12 points or 8 points, or that was sometimes a little difficult, I thought, for us to relate to the superintendent.
And this is a mid-year check-in, it's not the summative,
Right.
correct? Is it? Okay. So,
So
doing great,
this
great,
is-
great on everything. So.
Right, this is when we can tell him if he's doing a good job and needs to do better in certain areas.
Yep.
So it's we're trying to make our evaluation more meaningful.
Does it have to be an executive session? Is that? So we have a board meeting Monday, just throwing that out there. You guys are already here.
If you guys are ready.
Do
Oh,
an
yeah.
executive
to do
session
that.
afterwards, and at least that's one of the 2.
Because they've been
I
going
like
less
it.
than an hour.
Yep. Yeah, which would be nice.
Cut the
So-
meetings down and a little bit longer in one meeting.
Yeah.
So after the regular meeting, just kick everybody out and go to executive.
We don't kick everyone out, we just ask
Yeah, we
them.
do.
Yes.
You have to go home, we can't stay here. So that's.
Okay,
Yeah,
well now,
Thank you, I appreciate
Well, that
somebody
works
doing that for me.
And that's gonna be to go over the process, or?
It's the official, right? Talking with you cooperatively.
Well,
That was
you
us
guys are gonna
talking
meet
with ourselves.
and then kind of get yourselves calibrated and get like, hey, what do we think, what are we doing? And then we'll meet to say, hey, this is, as a board, this is what we collectively
Present it.
came up with.
Got
You have to really get more.
Yeah,
But the status of that session will be up to you
yeah.
as the employee.
so it'll work to have our first session after our regular board meeting, a week from tonight.
On the 13th. And then after that, we'll set when we'll have the official. Okay.
You let us know how you're doing before Monday.
Absolutely. I can let you know now, I bet. Yeah.
And so if you have any special things that, you're concerned about, this would be the time to bring them up.
Yep. This is our time to help us get better. I know.
And it's not just to help Ryan get better, it's to help our district perform better, because Ryan is essentially the leader. Okay. So any other concerns about that date next week? Okay, great. All right, then, the next item, all this reading material.
There is the March stack again, and we still haven't made it through November stack yet. No, and I think on there, Megan, do you remember Morgan put out like their new system for like the brackets and things like that? Did we attach that on there?
I read it and I didn't really see a big change in the
Okay.
process unless I missed something, but I read it.
So I mean, I would honestly, if this is kind of a 2-month process for us. So review it, looking at it. I didn't see anything really earth-shattering in there. But look at it, and we still have to do our wellness committee is gonna be meeting again on Wednesday to, ensure that we're ready for that wellness, policy update. So just to give you guys a heads up that that'll be ready for our next board meeting, the wellness policy, so.
So that will be ready in a week.
Yep.
So then we do like first reading in March? Is that what we're saying? Because we don't have a meeting next month? I just don't get how it goes.
Oh, so
for the
this one,
policy.
yeah, so we'll have our first reading. It can be, we can consider the first board meeting or the first reading of the study session.
Oh,
So,
gotcha. Okay.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay, was there anything in particular that stands out in your initial reviews or?
I didn't see anything when I mean, and most of the things we've talked about, we knew, like the civil rights stuff, I mean, just, there wasn't anything that was really big. So, I really do, the big change, and if you guys are ready, like, is the, the PML kind of law, the public meeting laws, that started January 1st, as you know, and it's showed up a lot of kind of school boards of how they operate. Do you want to talk about that now, or do you want to go a little more into this policy stuff?
Let's talk about that because that impacts on a lot of these.
So I printed these out, and just for your guys' reference, and I know you've looked at them. So I've kind of two sheets on there, and I'll sum it up so you guys don't have to waste a lot of time. You guys have this resource. As far as the board, the big changes in our public meeting law are that we have to essentially video all of our board meetings, work sessions. We've already done that. As Susan and I talked about, we've been doing that since COVID. So we're actually in a really, really good place for that. The board meeting videos have to be posted within 7 days. Ours are instant, right? And it's saved on YouTube. There are some things that Megan has to do differently, how she has to, it's like the sessions, how you do the minutes kind of thing in there. I have it here for you. And so, so here's what and there's also the public has to have the ability, because like virtually, to be able to attend somehow if they write in virtually. And we do that with our phone. They are able to phone in and give public comment if needed. So really, all of those changes to the public meeting law, we are already in compliance of, which is pretty awesome. There are some things on public meeting law that they spelled out, like one is electronic communications, and we don't do this. We're actually really, really good. We don't start an email chain. I actually, since I've been superintendent here, we've never done that. But if Pat sat there and emailed out to the whole group, hey, what does everybody think about this? Member replies to that, that's actually a public meeting. And we're saying, don't do that. And so, but like I said, we actually do a really good job of it. It's never happened since I've been here. So we just have to be cognizant of that. It's saying that electronic communications, they count and they fall under the law. And also, it also says, and I don't understand, you can't use a third party to communicate, right? So I don't know what that looks like, but saying that so Pat tells the third party this and the third party goes out and they have a discussion, that's a public meeting. It can't be because, a third party facilitated it. It doesn't mean it's not a public meeting.
Basically, we can't tell you, go and do a straw poll of the board, and then tell each of us how
Yeah.
it's going to turn out.
Yeah. Or you have, what was it, Jacobson, who was that, that you're gonna run it, you're gonna have them make up their, what they wanna do. That's a public meeting. So.
Does
And,
it
yeah.
say how long the recordings have to be available?
So that's something I didn't find, but ours are on YouTube 24/7. Or, so that we don't store them, we don't anything, they're always available online. And so that works under that, so.
I think I read you have like 3 days to post it, but ours are.
7 days.
Or 7, but ours are posted right now, like it's right
yeah,
now. So
immediately.
we
And they
are-
also have on there that,
cover
like,
that.
I know tell Megan this, because she'll take that, is you can write into the, and somebody of records, admission of records or something like that, instead of doing minutes, you can just give them the video, and so you don't have to do minutes anymore. Don't tell Megan that, 'cause she'll take that opportunity. But you have to do like a waiver to do it, and anyway, so as far as
Megan will
those,
look into that.
the new laws on how we operate our board meetings and communicate to the public, and it is really in the vein of transparency, right? And we've been doing that, and since COVID, and especially with this 1C thing, we've been as transparent as possible, and to, hey, watch the videos if you have any questions, and we do have a lot of people watching the videos.
So if a newspaper asks for public record, it's on our news, they can just say, go to YouTube.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
That's nice.
Unless they ask for the meeting minutes directly, say, oh, we want the minutes from us, like, so yeah,
That's on the
it's
website
actually,
too.
here's the website, yeah,
Mhm.
so.
So-
And they do, and they go to, and they watch a lot of our videos, and so, which is great.
So, and just make sure, executive sessions are still private.
Yep, still private. And so those are really the only ones that would be private, unless it's one of those, the trainings, like we have in Vail, like that's not a public meeting, 'cause, so. Any questions on any of those things? So you're in compliance, so no stress.
So, but if we have a training session just for the board, I mean, say OSBA comes in and does a training session just for the board, that is not a public
No.
meeting.
As long as, I mean, because it's very clear now, you can't discuss or make decisions based on a direction. It is training, you're learning something, like, public meeting laws, and you're not discussing operations of the district or anything like that, then that would be a training session. But if you're saying, hey, well, let's talk about how Crystal's doing this, then you're at a public meeting at that point, because you're making decisions, you're talking about operations of the district, so. Which I wasn't doing. You're doing it all, so, anyway, so feel good about that?
Feel a lot better. So, and these little pieces of paper are good for us to keep this to, so we
Yep.
know.
Yep. And I mean, and this is kind of the shortest, easiest way for you guys to digest rather than me printing out all the laws, so it's pretty good. Okay.
Right, and because I brought up the part about having a training session, please remember that we did, Nest School District did get a Girl Caucus Grand Scholarship. So we can, or we have to have a training to use up that scholarship by the 30th of June.
Yep. And we'll meet on, it seems like I say we're meeting Wednesday because Wednesday is kind of, we have our district meeting and our supervisor meeting Wednesday, where we're gonna be meeting with, what's her,
Kristen Miles.
yeah, to discuss that for the board, what that would look like, what does that mean? Because I emailed them, was like, what did we get money for? What did we do wrong? No, so, yeah.
Well, I mean, let's be honest, we can all use more education in whatever, so, and it was really wonderful that, that our application to the Rural Caucus was accepted. Scholarship.
Pretty cool.
Okay, so, anything else about these policies that we should be aware of?
No, like I said, it wasn't too earth-shattering that I saw.
Okay, so, and the first reading will be tonight or next?
It would technically be next week would be the first reading of it. Oh gosh, no, it wouldn't be the first reading because we haven't really given feedback or input on it yet, correct? Yeah.
Well, that's why I was saying, we usually go over them in a work session.
Yeah.
February work session, you guys are,
But the
Training.
wellness one we've already went over, right? And so now,
and that pushes it to March work
yeah.
session.
So, but yeah, so it'll be the next, it will be March, it would be that session. That's my answer to you right now. Let me think about the timeline on that,
Okay.
so.
Okay, because I was concerned about that. This is a lot of heavy reading.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are just deleted, but most of them.
And I can, like I said, I mean, I can still present it at a board meeting, that's not an issue, saying, hey, here are all of my suggestions for these, if you guys have them, we can do that. We just try to reserve our study sessions for that reason, but if we don't have one, we might just have to bring up the board here, some things that we're seeing in it, so. We try to be very succinct with our board meetings, so.
Yes. Is there anything else that needs to be brought up tonight?
I do have one other thing, and this kind of came up today, that's why it wasn't on there, and Brett's here for it. We have a proposal from Open Ed, our NISA virtual school. They approached Brett and I, they would like to open up the 9-12, the high school portion of Open Ed. Brett and I have been very clear and communicative about the expectations, learning from past experiences, and so I just wanted to bring it up to you guys to hear your thoughts about it. I was very clear today, like, you know, where's the benefit for the school district? And so it's not something we're just going to blindly, okay, high school is a vastly different beast than K-8, and it takes, obviously, right, you're looking at not only High School Success Act, OSAA we have to get involved again. I mean, there are so many different levels and to that, that I just want to know your thoughts on that. And I did say if we decided to do that, because it would be, you know, obviously a different investment for us, that our $1,000 student soft cap for K-8 wouldn't change, and so it would be on top of that. So how much on top of that? Parents, and this is according to them, right? They're pulling, parents are just chomping at the bit. This is now what we love the program. We love what NISA Virtual is giving us. Now, you know, after 8th grade, what do we do, right? We're out there, and I get that portion of it. And so anyway, I will keep rambling on and on, but I wanted to hear some of your thoughts and questions. Again, we're not making any decisions. We are very, very, very early in the exploratory process. Yes. It's so my tech, which is Open Ed now, right? And so it's Open Ed, and then I'll just call it NISA Virtual. So
I do have a question. The teacher certifications are somewhat different for the high school.
yeah, and that's one thing they say they're guaranteeing that they will carry highly certified teachers in all of the credit areas. So it won't be like last time. They're going to be carrying, and that's if they're guaranteed.
But they did last time, right?
No. So not in all areas. They did for most areas. For all the core areas, they absolutely did. And so
that could still be a problem this time, if we went this way in some areas.
they said that that was part of it, and Brett knows is that they feel very confident that every single course will have a highly qualified teacher in every single course.
So what right now happens to our virtual kids once they finish the 8th grade? What are their options?
So right now, and that's part of what we have kind of Bobby working through with U Science, and we try to engage them, like, what is your plan? Right? And they are kind of out there. Are you going to go to like Oregon Connections Academy? Are you going to go to a brick and mortar? But we try to keep them engaged with public education. Like I said, most of these kids weren't engaged before NISA Virtual Academy, so we work really hard to keep them engaged with public education. And Megan can attest to this. Online families are vastly different, right? And once they find a program that they're comfortable with, because they had to go out, they had to like stretch themselves out there, you know, and so they usually kind of get lost in it, and so they're kind of out there hanging, and we talk about, like, there are families, and so that is part of it right now, is that there's no option. We don't have an option. We just say, please go get an education somewhere. So
Open Ed's getting a lot of really positive feedback, both for their part and for the support that we provide as a school district. So the one concern is, as these parents are looking forward, it dead ends. It ends at 8. And it's like, what do you have for us? And so they're looking at, how do they provide these settings? They're trying to be responsive to the request. And then of course, with Ryan, it's like, okay, wait, but we gotta take care of this school district too. And so, anyway.
Could we potentially roll out, like if they're in 8th grade, we roll into a 9th grade only the first year, and then if they can meet their obligation with the teachers, then we could consider moving up?
And that's, yeah, that's what we proposed today at Bridge, that's what it really would be, and we would grow the program based on, just, now we're able to do it sophomores and juniors, and then to roll it up, and so that's kind of where we're at right now. But
Making sure they're doing what they're saying they're
Yeah,
gonna do.
the part of it is, I mean, there's a lot of need out there, and, we talked about even like the fentanyl, like, hey, compliance and all that, like, are you giving your three different lessons of the fentanyl thing? And there's, high school's a different beast than K-8, and the obligation and compliance is vastly different, and you look at it, I mean, and I feel very confident and comfortable that we can do that. It's just a lot more, and do we want to get in bed with that? Even, I mean, the Bridge program is, like I said, the Bridge going to 9th and going up is the best way to do it. However, as soon as day 1 starts, you better be 100% compliant. So anyway, and I'm not worried about it. It's
Are
just,
we the only school that they work with in this state? Or is
Yes.
there another school?
they're working on Scappoose, and they're going to be kind of taking over, because I think right now they have like 6 families, so they're working on opening that with them. We obviously being having it done before, and I mean, working with them last 3 years, right? Like, they're apprehensive about it too, so they need our expertise just as much as we need theirs, and so yeah, they want to partner with us on it.
Is there a way to limit which courses are available to students? So we are, like, it's a very, you have the licensed teachers before you open up the courses?
Right now, we hold all the keys, to be honest with you. But that's part of it. If we want to entertain looking at that, then we can start having those conversations and saying, not until I see the teacher can we have a course. But, and I was talking, Brett and I, we don't want to start the work if we're as a board saying, let's still left a bad taste in our mouth from before, right? I mean, that's where we're at. And so if, the board, and I'm going to bring it to the admin tomorrow, if as a community we don't see the benefit of those things, is that we're not going to start planning for such. So,
What's the demand? How many students do they think will come into the program?
I don't know how many 8th grade students we have.
I thought it was 30. I thought it was, right now, not a lot.
Yeah.
But there's the potential over time. And then are we gonna limit it to people who are in the 8th grade in this virtual program?
Only those Bridge kids can go in, and we're not taking on new kids that we know won't be successful, because that's part of it as well, because those kids affect our graduation rate, our 4-year completers, our 5-year completers, and but saying that these kids are already successful in the program, so we'll open a 9th grade program for because they know us, they know our system.
Open Ed is doing it successfully in the state of Utah with the state of Utah mandates. So we are not their first high school program. Open Ed is in multiple states. They are big. In this process, what I see is we are defining the parameters. We're telling them the non-negotiable, what the state requires. They're implementing it, and then we're responsible for the outcomes. That's always made me nervous. We give the parameters, they implement, we're responsible for it. That's probably my biggest flag right there, just because as the principal of this virtual school, my name on it. But then the other part is just the amount. If you look at Division 22, the majority of the Division 22 requirements are focused on high school, where it's under a different microscope. And so it's like, can we do it? Yes. Does it
And I'm
provide?
just gonna say, the new graduation requirements with the CRLE, I am scratching my head trying to figure out how to make that work in a virtual setting.
So perfect example, we're related for career-related learning, we are social emotional, sex ed, fentanyl, all of these mandates that have to be in place. When essential skills come back, there'll be the need for state testing and meeting those state tests for a diploma.
Sample work with a virtual student about,
Yes.
I don't know. that.
So the other yellow flag for me, and I don't want to talk about just the negative, I'll expose it in a minute. But the other yellow flag is these families are choosing Mr. Virtual Open Ed because they want to do their own thing. It's an online program from home-based, school supported. And so they provided all the resources in the curriculum, but they have a lot of leeway to do what they want. Well, when you get to high school to get a diploma, there's a lot of hoops to jump through. And so those families would have to know up front, these are the requirements, these are the hoops. If you're gonna do this, you're saying, yes, I'll do state testing. Yes, I'll take the wellness survey that we only had 5 responses for. Yes, we'll do this. Yes, we agree. We understand. And that's, it's the open ed way is think out of the box. Well, compliance is you better be in the box. And so how do you mold that? And so that's just so you understand the challenges. Now, does it provide a unique opportunity? It really does. As I'm working with these families, these are typically conservative families that live on the I-5 corridor, and they're looking for something different than brick and mortar school. And so it allows them to do homeschooling with the resources and curriculum to do a good job at it, so that the kids are learning and progressing. And so it's a neat opportunity for we're finding a very large group, and they're loving it. They're eating it up. They're saying, yeah, where was this 10 years ago? This is the best thing ever. Anyway, and so as I talked to Ryan, Ryan said, well, we can make all the money we need and not go there.
Right. It almost seems like in a sense, recreating what already is out there. Like, I had no trouble personally getting Marcus onto an online school, and he's a junior in high school. So going through all this headache in a sense, when it's already out there, like, why? For 30 kids that are transitioning.
She said, what's the niche? What's the need that we fill so that we are different than everything else that exists in Oregon?
Yeah. There's 30 kids transitioning out of 8th grade. And I get it, it's 30 kids. But if it's
Those
already
30
out
kids
there.
could find, we had a lot of problems
So I
last
have
time.
2 concerns right now. There's a nice virus going around in China right now. It would be a really horrible idea to move forward if we are facing another instance 5 years ago, with the uncertainty. Online schools that have had insane growth. We had a 50% growth in our school just this year. We had 109 kids enroll in 1 week in the high school. There's a need. I just don't want us to throw something half-baked and then be unprepared for, especially with these new graduation requirements. Like I said, when they're supposed to do a job shadow, how do I track 275 kids doing job shadows, verifying that they did their 4.5 hours and all of that, and that's just the juniors.
And we would be committed to 4 years, because if we're going to start with these 8th grade going to 9th grade, we can't all of a sudden say, didn't work out, sorry about that. Like, the credits you have, hopefully it works. And
my thought is kind of put a because I'd like to see how these new graduation requirements, how successful they are. If they go, wait a minute, we really screwed up with this process, and it might make that a little bit easier too.
I'm with Maribel, it sounds like a big headache for 30 kids.
I need to check that
And I
number,
agree.
Ryan. I don't remember that.
If it's 30 kids and it's not gonna make,
That much money.
move our needle much, then why? But if we were looking at 2 or 3 or 400
Well, and I think
kids and we go,
eventually, that is
Right.
potentially why we don't have more in our school in 8th grade, is,
sure.
you know, what
How much do we
said.
have in open K?
K-8, it's 1,000, I think it's almost 1,100 now.
That's good.
I mean, right, if that was gonna roll over to the high school level and we could implement it properly, I mean, you wanna talk about putting us on financial footing to update facilities to create a better physical environment for the kids who are going to
Build a
school
pool.
here. To build a pool.
We're all at that pool.
Every time.
I decided to do the swim team coaching.
Yeah.
Maybe not a necessary class, but I did take swimming class in high school. We had a pool right next to the school, and it was
I bet
fantastic.
75% of the
necessary
elementary kids don't know how to swim.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's a good program, but I guess the point is, if it's something you think we can implement, if we have to hire somebody else to even assist overlooking it all, great. But if we're gonna be 30, but if that 1,000 will finish through, it's worth looking at.
But I want Megan to make sure we're doing everything right. Sorry, I don't want to.
Yeah, Megan's a new
No,
job.
but I mean, you know.
And will those numbers like push like our sped department services? Would it take away our free and reduced lunches? Like, you
Yeah.
know, all of the juggling act.
So they will obviously push our numbers, but the good part about pushing our numbers now, we're able to actually hire 1.0 on site with Mrs. Hernandez, right? Is that allows us to combine things. So it's allowing us to get more resources for like SPED and things like that. And Gina herself, and so Bobby, right? The sky's the limit. I don't want to make it just like it's only financial, right? Like it has to be what's best for our community. It has to be best for kind of a program. You would have to hire, and I call it today like a high school compliance, right? I mean, just working on that.
Accountability coordinator. that's what we
Accountability
call it.
coordinator. There you go. You know, and so there is a larger obligation with high school, and they also said that they would hire their own guidance counselor because right now we hire the Bobby, part of Bobby's job is at K8, but they would take on that obligation, and they would be putting in other measures in there.
But didn't you say last time that everything was
On the up and up.
up and up and it wasn't?
But isn't that why we'd have a compliance officer? Because they say, we have this teacher certified, all right, send us the certifications, and then we can guarantee you.
Yeah, and I would say everything. There's a difference between everything was on the up and up. It just took more obligation from us because, right? They thought, oh, this is what we're doing usually. This is all we have to do. Is like, so we had to increase our level of support for it. They've learned from that. We have Andrea Fife, who is like, she is all about it. This is kind of her
She's
baby.
passionate about it.
Yeah.
And she's willing to find a way, if we're willing to work with her. We talked today about the need of listing every single mandate, from Division 22, from social and emotional learning to career-related learning, and figuring out, okay, in the school year, where is each of those addressed? What does this look like? And so, I mean, there's a commitment for them to, if we define the parameters, for them to implement. I guess for me, it's time. I guess it's an opportunity to say, okay, this is the open ed philosophy. This is what they're trying to create. Do we completely embrace this, that we're creating an amazing opportunity for students, and we want to be part of it because this is exciting? Or are we as a district, is this a financial means to benefit our local students. And I don't think either one of those is a bad answer. But if we're not 100% embracing their philosophy and wanting to create something amazing, then we're opening up a big can of worms for ourselves. If what we're doing is providing the financial stability to have an outstanding school district, then there wouldn't be any reason to expand. And I don't know if I articulated that well, but
So, I mean, what I want your thoughts are with this, is it, hey, if the numbers are there, it's worth exploring, right? Or is it, hey, let's put a pin on this, let's have another year to really get all those questions done before we even say, right?
Because my concerns aren't even about like their ability to do their job, it's the graduation requirements the state put on high schools are so intense that I don't know what that's gonna look like and how,
Yeah.
like,
and it's interesting, they came out with those at the very time that they have waived all the essential skills. And we have a huge dichotomy there. Is this being recorded?
Oh,
Yes.
Yes, it is.
But-
Megan, how long do you think it might take the state of Oregon to be like, whoa, we need to slow down what we just said? Like, do you think they'll figure it out in a year? Three? I don't know.
They
I'm
usually
just
allow-
curious.
they
Your
usually
thoughts?
have
Yeah,
this many
yeah.
years to
Yeah.
meet the
I mean, I know right now, like, they want the kids to have it, but it's not their requirement.
Gotcha.
I think it's next,
Yeah,
Your
it's,
seniors?
it's our 25, 26 class,
Gotcha.
right? Yeah.
so.
But it's just like what they do on Christmas break, how we say, hey, we'll tackle that after Christmas break. Now in January, have every meeting. No, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, it is, they really did it, kicking that down the road for a long
But
time
a
now.
lot of it is like, here are all the things they need to have by the time they're done with high school, but you figure out when that's gonna be. And that's where we're having a lot of.
Are there
And we have
consultants who
implemented
specialize
several
in these
rules.
things, whether it's a school law attorney or just a separate consultant, that they say, we have taken this job on of saying this is how schools are going to meet these requirements. Not saying we should be burdened with hiring that person, but Mike Tech hires whatever they want. They make a lot of money coming into a new state, and they're going to make a lot of money over time. So even though they're saying, you guys figure out how it's done, maybe we'll go back to them and say, look, here's a consultant, we'll work with both of us, you're paying their fees, and then if they can make it work, we'll bring it on. That way it's not all on our shoulders, we have an actual specialist who will say, this is how.
This is what you need to do.
Right.
And we could definitely entertain that, and that's part of that accountability person is that we still want to make sure that it is a missile product too, right? And I think that's important for us is we don't want, we do want our brand on it because at the end of the day, we want them to be diploma seeking students and have a NISA diploma, and so it has to be at our level, and there's things that we have here that they don't have in the state, right? And so, so the answer is yes on both, right? But we do want still our voice and our saying, like, oh no, all you have to do is ask. Yeah, that may be what you guys did, it's all you have to do, but NISA, this is what we do.
And that's fine, and I think that's where the consultant comes in and says, here's the requirements, here's how we can make it work. But NISA still gets to say, and we're gonna tweak this and this, and get rid of this, add this.
So yeah, no, that's absolutely, we have the say on those things, and I think right now, like they said, just bring us your wish list, like, because we're really motivated to get this done for the families out
Because
there.
I know a lot of the districts in the I-5 corridor have removed their AP classes, a lot of the college credit courses, and that's a lot of what we get.
Do you think it would be like open for anybody in high school that wanted to come, or would we give preference to people who are in the K-8 program?
Right now, and obviously, right, what it looks, if we decide to do this, what it looked like in 5 years is, I think, would be vastly different than what it looks like year one. Year one, it is like, Brett was talking about that box, like, we're not removing the size of that box. It's gonna be like this until we really get a hold of all of those intricate pieces and saying, that it may be, it's like, we really wanna do a lot of AP, you know, snow college, those things that we had before, that we're able to do that. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna look different, that's what I'm telling you. And so right now, my thought is,
But it could.
only a bridge program with our, from 8th to 9th, that's it.
Because that would be doable, you know, say
Yeah.
30 kids, so then we have 120 in the whole high school in 4 years, which is doable, but we open it up to the whole state and get another,
And I'm gonna check those numbers and I'll
that's a
send them
ballpark.
so that, I honestly right now cannot remember. I'm still, sorry, Christmas vacation mode. But yeah, let me look at the.
Yeah, but
I
still,
want-
I mean,
I don't
ballpark,
wanna speak
30
for that.
is.
We just started the new semester today, and so all those new winter enrollees started today, so that'll change it, but, and it might be, that's part of it, is we might have more interest coming in because they know that they have a path going through, and so, but anyway.
Did we put a cap on how many we take, Katie?
Yeah, it's supposed to be 1,000, so,
At first it was 300, then it was 600.
yeah.
We got 1,000, so we did the cap to 1,000.
Yeah, so we said 1,000, but
We can
again,
do
like,
more.
we're at 12, we're at, like I said, 1,100 or a little over 1,100.
Yeah, we said there's.
Yeah, and so that's why we're helping Scappoose open up the sister school, is to kind of take that, like, I mean, we could have really just said, open up sky's the limit, but I think as a
Why don't we
district.
hire more people and open it up? I'm
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
that might have sounded kind of condescending, it's not intent, like, what is the reason why you don't?
That, there's, I mean, that's a longer conversation
Okay.
question, I
Right.
think.
That's
uh,
fair.
It's 50?
Yeah,
Thank you.
If I pulled the report right.
50.
Thank
So
you.
That's my answer, so, yeah.
200.
Yeah.
So
We
it's
can
50,
go down.
50 eighth graders currently.
And not all of them would go on, but.
Thank you, Megan. I have the,
Well, if they need.
And it looks like there might be a couple
we go
withdrawals in there,
on.
so it might be a
As I
few
said, in
less.
4 years, we could have 200 qualify.
So, Mike, I have a question too. Would these, if, you know, this comes to fruition, would the ones who graduate have a NISA,
100%, absolutely, yes.
but not, it would be a NISA, a regular NISA
Yep.
diploma? It wouldn't be a NISA virtual school diploma. The reason I'm asking is because,
It's an NISA school district diploma. If we say it's a NISA virtual diploma, I don't think we've gone that far down, but they still will meet the requirements of the NISA school district. And so.
so your policy, the board policy.
Yes.
But if they
Or-
wanted to walk in graduation, could they?
We would do something separate for them if we wanted.
well,
to.
that
Yeah.
was the next question I was.
And again, it depends on numbers. If we have 1 or 2 kids, right, that maybe we add them on the video here or make it available to them. You know, they are our kids, and I would make that available to them. Again, I mean, we're 4 years down the road from that. We're looking at, yeah, next year, you know, do we want to explore this? And I think Brett and I are in the same place. We'll do the work. Like, we will help do this. Brett's not second guessing that, but anyway.
No.
Yeah,
I agree
we're
with you.
willing to do those things, but we don't want to do it, because it is a lot, as you see. We've only talked about, and I think Megan understands what this encompasses, but we don't, like, our time is a valuable thing. If we think this is a valuable thing for us to continue and explore and do, we will do.
All right, move forward with you.
I just want to make sure they're going to do what they say they're going to do, and make sure we're in compliance.
I would like this, a second contract written out, just 9/12. So. Because it's a different, like I said, we're asking them to hire a guidance counselor, we're asking them to do these things. Part of it is, I'm also going to ask them to throw in a little more to help us open up this virtual, like, actual building campus, and we just have no room to keep bringing on people. And so for them to kind of help with that.
Module.
I was thinking
Is it realistic, Ryan, to actually think we could start a bridge program in fall? Like, that's 8 months away? Or are we out a year and 8 months?
I think it is realistic if we are just doing those 9th grade students, very core. We're not opening up a catalog. We're just saying, here's what you use. Like, I think we could accomplish that be ready for
And your
August.
mandatory electives.
Exactly, yeah, and then exactly, here are your mandatory ones right now, and we're just saying, everything is core, right? We could really say just everything is
It's
core this year.
I just
and-
know, it's a lot of work. It's just,
Oh, yeah.
it's more for
Yeah, and,
one.
Do you need to hire someone for her?
Oh.
I mean, it's a lot of work for
I
you,
mean,
isn't it?
no, I just,
yeah.
it's just seeing the process of what,
Yeah, it's-
the work that's been done to get it where it is now. I don't, it's just a lot more than it's
But I mean,
special ed and it's.
theoretically, if you're like doubling the school size theoretically, then you almost could start separating the tasks of this is the all
Yeah.
emphasis.
Mhm.
And that's what I would like
Yeah.
to really start doing.
Right, because right now, there's not one full-time staff member for it as a virtual.
Right.
We're all doing dual roles. So being a little bit bigger, then you start defining and simplifying.
And I know just even hunting down Cume files can be a full-time job.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just
Yeah.
working with other districts is almost a full-time job, right? And superintendent.
Getting records from them, all
Yeah.
their things, yes.
So what happens should this, come to fruition? What happens if we suddenly find out we can't do it? What are we gonna do with those kids? I mean,
Well, it's
Yes.
kind of like when Nevada Connections closed parts of their schools, they said, here, if you want to continue online, here's
Some
our
options.
recommended places to go, and then if you want to go back in person, here's, your local
And I
districts.
think that's what we do with special ed guidance counseling, is we meet with them and say, like, Oregon Connections Academy, like, hey, this is kind of a sister program. It is a little different, however, they still allow, this and this. This is a great option for you, here's and that. But we do want to help guide them, right? Our job is to ensure that kids in Oregon get a good public education. And so we don't want to be like, sorry guys, you guys figure it out. Like, we do want to help guide them to ensure that they continue that education. Because, we're trying to raise the level of all Oregon students. So,
well, that was why I was asking, because we might find that,
But I mean, dipping the toe into ninth grade and then being like, whoa, this isn't working, is much easier to pull out of than,
So if we just
You're
do
being
ninth
like
grade,
12
we
and-
have to sign a 4-year contract with them?
no, I think the term of the contract, it would be more of the kind of operating agreement of the contract, if that makes sense. Like, we were gonna do a 9/12, like at any time, one of both parties can say, we're not gonna continue this. But I wouldn't put a term on it. I would just say, ninth grade, here's what we're doing, and go from there, so.
And it probably only makes sense to do the bridge, to do the 8th to 9th, because how are we gonna control what they've done in 9th through 11 for these 12th graders who are all of a sudden coming in? So, yeah, I think it only makes sense.
you
to
get
start.
your 12th, 11th grader that transfers in because you have to
Right.
accept them with 2 credits.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's exactly, it's not a
That makes
credit
sense.
recovery system, it's not those things,
I
it is.
have a junior right now with like 0.75 credits, and I don't know what to do with it.
What is their plan?
They don't have a plan. Obviously, they're doing the work either.
To be continuously enrolled in a program, that's our plan, so anyway, so thoughts, any other thoughts or questions, Maribel, did you have anything?
So when people are, or like students or parents are applying to get their children in, if they're behind on credits, do they have to be accepted into this
So the
public online school?
Utah program they meet with a counselor before they're admitted and go through a process. And, they're being very selective. It has to be someone who is on track with credits. And they look at, and they look at goodness of hits. What's the post-high school plan? How are we getting from here to here? What are your goals? And so they're screening a lot of those out. And what they said today is they would want to do a similar process,
Are we allowed to do
which is
that?
smart. You get, your inter-district transfers.
And so that would be, we would look at, it would be the inter-district transfer. Our requirements on it right now, we can limit, like we do juniors and seniors that are credit proficient, we don't take them, part of the process, but I couldn't answer that right now because that, you know, that would be something that's,
My
we need to
understanding
look
is that
into
you
it.
can't, but you can create a student, like, contract where they have to make adequate progress, and if they don't within a certain time, then you can remove it.
That's what we've done. So you have the, we communicate expectation, all interdistrict transfers have to be passing all classes, attending 90% of the time, and have no recurring participations. The actual, I believe, board policy and law says, depending on resources. So our stance is, we have resources if you,
Because I know
If
like
you can do well.
Sylvie's
I don't
River,
have the interventions
Has
if
like-
you're not making it.
if you're not making progress, you have 2 weeks to make progress. If you don't, you're done. You have 2 more weeks and then you're done. Like,
And
It's a
then
very-
we try to do it this semester, so it's a smooth transition to another school. And that's what Bell, that's what Adrian does. Like, every once in a while we get someone back
they're
because they
recommending
weren't
that
making
very
progress.
heavily.
Yeah, no, I agree.
This is making me realize I am completely ignorant on this subject. Like, with all these graduation requirements, what about a kid who moves here from out of state their junior year, and they're not even close to Oregon's graduation requirements
We
because
have
they're
that
not
a
required?
lot.
Yeah.
What do they do? How do these kids graduate?
So you do a transcript review,
Okay.
right? And you're able to kind of go through that, and there is, you take really the minimum, Oregon minimum requirements that you have to kind of comply with, and you can say, you know, but that's why that, like, you have your guidance counselor and those things, they can do a transcript review and say, yes, this counts as this counts as this, but, so.
And that's
So you're probably
almost-
not gonna get a .75 credits.
You know, but yeah, well, we have some people come up from Mexico with none, right? Or they've had some schoolings, but they have no transcripts, they can't, you know, and so we're just like, okay, so what does 2 years look like for us? Then we're able to kind of, to go through
And
that
there is some
process.
flexibility in there, like we had a student that like had no algebra credits, but she took for calculus and got a B. We're like, well, obviously
Right.
we can give her the
Yeah.
credits for,
Okay.
you know, that kind of stuff.
This is all new to me.
Yeah. That takes a
Your
lot.
kids will be in high school before long.
Oh, they're going way too fast.
Any other-
The bridge idea, I'm not opposed to that, especially because you know that they're going to need some credits.
The other part is, the comment was made earlier, that homeschool parents are very different from our in-person parents. They are, and in many cases, very involved. I
So
zero
either-
or 100.
Yes,
It's like-
either side,
yes.
like, I have a child, or, I know, like, what time I came into bed, like, you know, every little.
But I have been impressed. I mean, they're the teacher. They're implementing on their own.
Any other comments? Questions?
What, you wanna go home?
Okay, so
Take your show?
I'm just kind of, I do, it sounds like kind of, I mean, again, we're not making, because
Is it
we're gonna
proceed
explore a
with
little
caution?
bit in like
Yeah.
maybe a
Proceed.
bridge kind of thing.
Look into a bridge program and make
And I
sure.
would say we really make sure that it's mapped out similar to how the high school is, like where all of these college and career readiness.
I would like to, probably in March, do more of a formal presentation to you guys, where it has kind of those requirements we talked about. And then we could, yes, let's open this up, because obviously, like I said, we have so the ODE and those things. there's
So
just-
how many people would we have to hire to, like, to go these, like, to,
I mean, if we're just looking at kind of a bridge, like 30, 40 kids, I think we're good, because we do have Lexi, right, that's helping them now, and she's full-time helping. We would have to, I'm looking at a 1.0, just the compliance officer, and we're kind of really front-loading that, so that's right now. So really, it was 1.0 of that, and then a off-campus building facility that we rent, so.
So, but just to clarify.
Making notes for the budget.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Just to clarify, you're saying proceed with caution, get more information, and come back.
And
Or are you
look at-
saying-
Look at the bridge.
And look at the bridge. Okay, so roll it up gradually.
And then see like 1,000 Right, we want a bridge or 1,000.
Yeah, just pick one.
Oh my gosh.
And you and I can look into the cost of the
There's
school.
no in between.
Yeah, yeah.
No in between.
30 or 1,000, that's it.
By the way, since we're talking about the pool, just to be really, really quick, because it's not on the docket either, the RFP is out for the turf to looking at that. We do have a committee put together, so when those RFPs come, to really present to the board. You guys obviously haven't made the official decision. This is, we have it kind of budgeted financials. We're gonna have an RFP, so we'll have that to you. It will be in our February meeting. But just a kind of heads up where we're at in the process. And if right now we're meeting those markers, that if you as the board decide to go ahead, we should have new turf in by football season next year.
And the new signs will be up by.
Yes, they're working on that. We do have an issue with the high school sign. Yeah, they'll go spring break, they'll be up. The high school sign, it's, the voltage on it is different, and so we're working on some go-arounds of that. But everything else, everything is on track right now. So.
Any other questions for Crystal?
I wasn't listening. What?
Crystal, I have a list of questions.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, you have to adjourn?
If there is no other business, then we will, I'd like to remind you that we have our regular meeting a week from today at 7. And if there are no other questions or comments,